All right. Hey, I want to welcome everybody to BobCAM for SolidWorks What's New webinar. As you may or may not know, my name is Al DePoalo. I'm the voice of the BobCAD After Dark video series. You can find me on Instagram at Al DePoalo or hashtag BobCAD After Dark. The goal of today's webinar is to review 3 new features of the BobCAM V6 that we feel will make your life easier when it comes to programming your parts. So the first thing we want to look at here is drill optimization. Okay, so ask yourself, have you ever struggled with the order holes are drilled with? Or have you ever sacrificed efficiency for safety? Okay, so with the new BobCAM V6, we have a bunch of new sequencing options or sorting options. Okay, you're going to be able to reverse each operation. Okay, so you're going to get efficiency from your sorting options. You're going to have reverse direction for your drilling, which we're going to review here. You know, and when you're drilling holes, really what it comes down to is 2 main factors that you look at. How fast can you get through the holes, and how can you move safely to avoid clamps and fixtures? Okay, the BobCAM V6 helps you with both of these by providing new sorting options, by providing reverse each operation, and then we also give the user a custom pick order now, so you can pick the order in which you want to drill your holes. Now the benefits of this is improved drilling and efficiency, and again reducing your cycle time. Okay, so that's the first topic we're going to review. Second one that we want to talk about here is Gouge Check with CheckSurfaces. Okay, so you would ask yourself, have you ever been frustrated trying to create Toolpath that only cuts in specific areas of your model? Or are you trying to avoid cutting into walls, pre-machined or already finished features, or even work holding? Okay, BobCAM V6, the gouge checking provides another level of containment for your 3D toolpaths. Using gouge checking, you can check against single or multiple surfaces. Okay, so you can select a single surface and check against it, or multiple surfaces and check against it. Okay, you can also check against the tool and the holder, either the tool and the holder. Okay, so this way when you've selected some surfaces that you want to check against, you can check your tool or your tool and holder, and there's a lot of clearance options that you have for that as well. The other thing you can do is you can retract or bump up your tool path. So if the tool makes contact with one of these surfaces or all of these surfaces, you can tell it to bump up by a specific amount. Okay. All right. The other thing you can do is you can trim away your tool path. So if the tool makes contact with this surface, you can say, okay, we want to trim away that tool path. Okay. So, you know, these are just some of the new features with the gouge checking and CheckSurfaces. The benefit is more control over where the tool does and does not go. Okay. So that's the second topic that we're going to look at. The third topic here is going to be Toolpath Updates for geometry changes. So ask yourself, are the latest design changes reflected in your toolpath? You know, you changed that hole location, or maybe you added additional clearances. These are common things. I mean, design changes happens. Is your toolpath updated for those design changes? You know, or what about, I have this part fully programmed, but instead of using a vise, I want to use a fixture plate instead. You know, let's face it, you're going to need to change your 0 location, or it's likely you're going to need to change your machine setup location. So these are the things that we're addressing. Design changes happen, and your ability to quickly update to make your ability to quickly update for those changes makes you a better and a faster programmer. Okay, so you can update for single features if there's just a hole or a pocket, just a single toolpath feature. You can update for all your features, so if you've made a bunch of changes, whether it's 2D or 3D, you can update for them very quickly. You can also update for your machine setup location. So if you change your 0 location, you can do that as well. Okay, the benefits of this is significantly faster, easier updates. All right, let's see what else we got for you. Well, as you know, BobCAM for SolidWorks is available for download. This is a recent update. With BobCAM, you get fewer steps. You also get better cuts. And most importantly, more profit. So if you haven't downloaded your demo copy, go to BobCAD.com right now and download it, or maybe after the webinar. If you want a one-on-one presentation to look more at the kind of parts that you do and the kind of machining that you do, you can always call us 877-262-2231, extension 123, okay? And let's do a one-on-one demo together. Now, let me pause this for a second here, and let's get the SolidWorks system up, and let me load one of my first files here. Give me just a second here, guys, to get this sorted, and we'll get going. Now, while we're waiting to get this going here, let's see here. Why doesn't everybody just right where it says in the questions area where you can write a question, okay, just write in where you're from. There's a few of us in this webinar here today, some of the names look familiar, some don't. So if you don't mind, just where it says questions there, just write in where you're from. Iowa, great. PA, Timothy's from PA. Thanks for joining us here today. Michael's from Knoxville, Tennessee. Reginald is from California, San Diego, California. Great to have you here, Reginald. David's from Ohio. Thanks, David, for coming in. We got Donnie from Charlestown, Indiana. Thank you so much. Dennis up in New Hampshire there. Tammy in Georgia. Listen, Brian's here as well. Hey, thanks, Brian, for coming in. John from the United Kingdom, good to see you. Or I'm sorry, John from New Mexico. We got the United Kingdom here. Let's see, Georgetown, Ryan, Kentucky. Thank you so much. Vinny JN. Is that New Jersey, Vinny? Hey, good to have you here. I'm from New Jersey myself. Rodney from Wisconsin. Let's see, we got Jay from Texas. Glenn is out of New Jersey as well. Hey, thank you, everybody. It looks like we got people from all over the place. I'm sorry if I didn't mention your name. Stan from Connecticut there, but I really appreciate everybody coming here today and joining me for today's webinar, okay? So the first thing that we're going to look at here is the drill sequencing options, or the sort order or the cut order. So I have a plate here and I have some holes, okay? So drilling, it's just a really common thing, and over the last few versions we've definitely made a bunch of changes to the drilling side of the software. Right now we're talking about the sequencing or the sort order options you have for drilling. Okay, so we have a part, we have a bunch of holes here. Let's get into the CAM tree. Let's look at where in the wizard you find the sorting options. So we're going to edit this feature here. So right click edit, and then in here you're going to see machine sequence. This is the area that we're talking about. There are 5 options that we have available for machine sequence for drill order. You have closest, pick order, X direction, Y direction, and custom direction, okay? So the first thing that we want to talk about is where this is located. So again, when you're in your feature, whether you're clicking through the wizard or you go to the Explorer section, machine sequence is where you're going to find this. And the feature where you're finding these options is under the sort order. This is the order in which the holes are going to be drilled, okay? There's 5 different options you can choose from. The first one we're going to look at here is going to be the X direction. So we're going to set this to X direction. We're going to hit compute, and then we're going to look at our toolpath, okay? So what you're going to see here is that the tool is going to move along the x-axis, okay? So we're drilling along, and we're going to drill along x, and then it drops down and comes back, and then it drops down and comes back, okay? So that's an example of the x direction sorting. Now if we come in here and we edit this, and we go to y direction, so instead of it running parallel to x, now we're going to say run parallel to y. So we can set it to y, we can hit compute, and then now you can see the sorting is going to run along the y-axis. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, the order in which you're drilling holes. So we have a bunch of different holes here, and with these holes we want to control which order we're going to be drilling in. Okay, you do that under the sort option, and right now we just showed the difference between x direction and y direction. Okay, we did also add a custom direction, so if we go to sequence and we look at custom, you could set this on a particular angle and be able to compute that as well, and now you'll see that it's going to cut along or sort along that angle. Okay, so these are some of the new sorting options you have in the BobCAM V6. Okay, the other thing that I want to look at here also has to do with the start position. So I'm going to go back to X, and you can see there's this start location here, so I could say start at the front left corner. And what you're going to see here is that it's going to start on that front left corner. Okay. If I want to change it and I want it to start in the back left corner, I can go to the back left corner and hit compute to update for the changes. I can go to back plot, and then now you're going to see that it's in the back corner. Okay. If I want to change it to the right, or the right back, or the right front, you just make that update there. And then you can see that the whole, the first tool that you're going to drill is going to be based off of those locations. Okay, so those are the first few examples that I wanted to show on the drill optimization. The first one we're talking about is the sort order, is how you control how the holes are drilled, or the order that they're drilled. The second thing we talked about was the X direction, so we can go machine sequence and we can set it to X. The drilling will run parallel to X. Then we went to the Y direction, parallel to Y. The drilling ran parallel to Y. And then also this new option here, custom direction, where if you need it to cut along a certain angle, you can type that angle in right here, and then it will sort along that angle. And then the last thing that we talked about was the start location, which allows you to start or choose which corner you want to start on. Okay. All right, so that's what we're looking at for the first file. Now, I want to address something real quick. Any questions that you come up with, Todd, Vincent, Bill, James, Ryan, Stan, whatever question you have, it doesn't matter what it is, anything that has to do with the BobCAM software, the drilling, any question that you can think of that you've ever had about the software, please type it in the question box. I will get to all of your questions. Okay, so it's really important. Anything that you guys can think of at any time, just go ahead and type it in. I may not get to it right away, but I will definitely answer every one of your questions. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping real quick. I want to take a quick poll. What version of BobCAM are you running? Are you running V2, V3, V4, V5, and I'm sorry, the last one's supposed to be V6 as well. So I apologize about that. But it does look like a fair amount of you are running the V6, which is great. If you've never run BobCAD, or you don't have a copy of BobCAD at all, you can pick V2. I'll work a little bit better on that slider. You can actually type in the question area, I do not run BobCAD or BobCAD-CAM products. That's fine. Just go ahead and type that in there so I know who you are and that you're not currently running our software. All right, so I'm going to leave that open for just a second longer here so everybody can get a chance to vote. Dana's running BobCAD 29. Thank you so much. You guys will find a lot of carryover between BobCAM and BobCAD-CAM. The products generally leapfrog each other, so features you see in one, whichever one was released last, you'll find those features in the next version, so they leapfrog each other. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close down the polls. Thank you, everybody, for voting. It looks like we have a lot of BobCAD-CAM customers with us today, and then also a lot of V6 customers. So thank you so much. All right, let's look at the next file that we want to review here. So we're going to go into number 2. All right. So again, we're talking about drilling, we're talking about sorting and how you can control what holes are being drilled or in what order, okay? So in this particular file here, it's pretty simple. We're going to just go into the CAM tree. Again, we're going to right-click on that feature and go to Edit, all right? And we're going to go to Machine Sequence, and this gives us all of our sequence options, okay? So what we want to look at this one is we're going to go to closest, okay? And a lot of times, remember the two things that we were talking about is speed, getting through the holes quickly, right? So when you're drilling these holes, you want to get through them quickly, and the other one we were talking about was safety, okay? So speed and safety, and how are we addressing that? So if we go to closest, a lot of times closest is going to give you a very efficient way to get through those holes. So you can see that it's joining around, cutting through the holes, going one-to-one. So that's actually a pretty efficient way to get through that group of holes, all right? Again, if we want to change where it starts from, we can go to our sequence and we can change which corner it starts from, and then it will update which corner it's going to go from, and then it's going to cut around, okay? So we can see that we can change the corner, and using closest, we get a nice hole-to-hole location, usually in a lot of cases the most optimized. But some of the things that we're not looking at here is like our work holding, depending on where we may have clamp locations, okay? So if we have clamp locations in different locations, we may want to change, that this is the safety part, we may want to change the order in which those holes are being drilled in. And that's why, one of the reasons why we came up with the sorting by pick order, okay? And what pick order allows you to do is to actually pick the holes in the order that you want them to be drilled in. So we can go pick order, okay, let's say we want to start with this hole here, okay, and then really you just draw your mouse along and it's going to connect those holes. So I'm going to go through here. Let's say there was a clamp next. Maybe I jump over to here, come around, and go through all of these guys here just like this. Okay, so pick order is just a real quick way to go in here and to mouse over the holes in the order that you want to drill them in. You check this down, we recompute, and then now you can see that drill order has been updated for based on the pick order that I just went through. So I just moused over it and I was able to control where the tool would cut in, the order in which it would cut the holes in. So closest a lot of times is a great optimizing tool to quickly get through the holes, but when you start adding safety in there, sometimes that pick order really helps to control where it's going to cut in. I mean, yeah, sure, you can jack up your retracts, and you could also use different groups as well to change where your retracts are. So you do have different options for that, but this is a really nice one here, okay? So, all right, I'm going to throw up another poll here so I can get some more information about you guys. So let's go ahead and launch this. How long have you been using BobCAM? Never have. Less than 6 months, less than a year, less than 2 years, more than 2 years. Okay, so this would just give me a good idea of the user base, and it always surprises me who we get in these webinars, the types of customers. It looks like we have a real battle here of some veteran users or users that have been using the software for more than 2 years, which is great. But we also have a lot of new users as well, which is really good. And just, you know, these webinars, we email them out, we put them on Facebook, we put them on Instagram. Definitely sign up for them. It's a great resource to learn about a lot of the new features. This is the first webinar on the BobCAM. There's going to be many more to come. So I'll give it just a minute longer for everybody to vote here, but it does look like it's a battle between veteran users or users that have had the software for more than 2 years and new users that are just coming on board. So it's great to have everybody a part with us, and we'll go ahead and close that down. Thank you everybody for voting with me here. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go on to the next file here. So let me cancel out of this. File open. All right, so what are we on? We're on 3. Okay, so here's just another example. There's some holes that we want to drill. Okay, again, we're going to look at this particular file. We're looking at the the start location, and using closest. So just another example. We're going to come in here and edit this. We're going to go to machine sequence. We're going to go to closest, and we're going to recompute. And you can see it's going to find the closest order to come in here and to drill these holes. Okay, so it finds a nice efficient order to come in here and to drill these hole locations out. Okay, and again, if you want to change where it's starting from, okay, you go to your sequence, and then you can change the corner and recompute, and then now you can see it's changing from or starting from a different hole location, okay, using those corners. So again, just another example of using closest and using the start location, okay? All right, let's see here. Let's open up another file. We got, what is this, 4? Okay, so we got 4 here. Now the next thing that we want to talk about is reverse each operation. So this is a really good tool because, again, either you're talking speed or safety. Okay. So if we look at this feature here, I have a couple of different groups. Okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, 3 different groups. I'm using the groups because the holes start at different locations. I got holes that are on the top here, and then I have holes that are on the shoulder here. Okay, or the step down. All right, so I'm using the groups in order to get the tool to jump over this corner here. That's why I'm using the groups there. When I look at my drilling, let's see what it's set to. So if we go to our sequence, you can see right now it's set to reverse each operation. So let me uncheck that and recompute. We'll go to our center drill. We'll backplot this through. And we're going to run this through, and you can see it started in this corner here and it ended over there. Okay. Now, if we go to the drill and we backplot that through, you can see it starts in this corner here and then it ends over there. Okay. So what's happening is the tool's going to change when it goes from the spot drill or the center drill to the drill, and then it's going to move over to the start position here. And this move over here is what we want to eliminate by using the reverse each operation. Okay, so that's what this is designed for. Now to turn it on, again, we go to the machine sequence. Okay, we go to reverse each operation, and then we hit compute. That's it. That's all you got to do. Excuse me. Okay, so after we check that on and we recompute, you'll see that the first tool, the spot drill, starts in this first location and ends over here. And then you'll see the second tool, the drill, will start over here, and then it will work back to this corner. So all it does is it reverses the order in which the holes were processed. So it eliminates that move back to the start. Now a great example of this is if you had a big plate with a lot of holes that are drilled on it, you don't want it to come all the way back to the start to start drilling again. You can just have it reversed. So that's another really good feature that we've added to the BobCAM V6. All right, now the last thing that I want to look at here when it comes to the V6 is these sorting options are not limited to just 2-axis, okay? You can use the sorting options for wrapping groups, so you can use them in wrapping groups. So here I have this part, and I have all these holes around it. You can see I'm drilling all these holes out. If we come in here and we edit this feature, we can go to our sequence, maybe change it to the X direction, recompute, and then now you can see this is going to process all these holes running along in X. All right. Now if we wanted to change it, we could change it where it runs along in Y. So the sequencing options for drilling not only affects your 2-axis, it also affects like things like wrapping groups, your cross-drilling routines if you're on a mill turn, or your multi-axis drilling if you're on a 3+2 setup or a 5-axis machine. Okay, so the drill sequencing options in review, again, you have 5 sorting options that you can use. You have control over your start location, which corner it starts from. You have reverse each operation to optimize your drilling. So you remove that link back move to the beginning, and it is supported in wrapping groups. It's supported for your cross drilling, face drilling, and your multi-axis drilling. Okay, so that is our first new feature of the BobCAM V6. I'm going to take a second to run another poll here for you guys. If you are currently running the BobCAD software, are you on an active support plan? Okay. Technical support is so important. When you have questions or comments, you need help with things, you need to talk with a qualified support technician, you know? So I recommend everybody to be on support. It's really affordable. There's a great team down there. There's Walter and Darren and Mike and there's all these different guys that work down there that have a lot of experience. They know different CAM systems. They have a really great team. So if you're not on a support package, I definitely recommend it. So just call them up today. Call them up and say, hey, Al did a webinar today, and he said I need to be on support, so I'm calling to get on support. Trust me, you'll be happy that you did, okay? So I'll give this just a second longer, and then we'll close this down. And it does look like most of you guys are on a support plan, so we really appreciate that, and thank you so much. Voting is closed, and active support plan members was definitely took that by a landslide, so good job, guys. All right, now, next thing that we're talking about, this huge feature, gouge checking with CheckSurfaces. So, so let's kind of, I just want to get an idea here. If you have used CheckSurfaces in the past, go ahead and write that in the question section. Just say, yes, I've used CheckSurfaces in the past. I understand what this is. Okay, so if you have used CheckSurfaces, okay, David, great. Brian, awesome. Okay, so these are very powerful tools. Now, CheckSurfaces really have only been available for our multi-axis customers. So you needed like 4-axis Pro or greater, okay? So you needed some of the more expensive or higher end or more complicated software in order to unlock these features, okay? Now we've done things with operation stock, we've done things with boundaries. Now we're adding CheckSurfaces for 3-axis Pro users. You can get CheckSurfaces, and these things are awesome. Okay, so let's take a look at a sample. I have 7 samples to go through here. Got about 30 minutes left. I think I'm doing all right. Okay, if you have not used a CheckSurface ever, if you don't know what I'm talking about, like what do you mean CheckSurfaces? Go ahead and raise your hand or comment in the question section. Okay, so let's see. John, no idea. Okay, no problem, John. Don't worry. We're going to explain exactly what this is. Let's see who else. Dana, no problem. We're going to show you what this is. Thank you guys so much for participating here. Mark, okay, Mark, we got you. You're going to love this feature. Stan, you're really, really going to love this. Todd, this is really good stuff. I'm sure Brian would agree. I'm sure Donnie and David would agree. So let's kind of get into it. So we got a 3D part here, okay? First thing is, where is the gouge check located? Where do you find it? So let's go into the feature here. I have 2 different features. This one isn't set up. This one is set up, okay? If I go into the feature and I choose edit, what you're going to see on the Explorer view on the tree, there's this section here called Gouge Check, okay? So that is where it's located. It's got its own section called Gouge Check. To turn gouge checking on or off, you're going to use this checkbox. Okay, so that's how you turn it on. You can see there's 3 different levels, so you can check it. I'm sorry, 4 different levels, so you can check different things different ways. Okay, we're going to just focus on one and keep it simple. Okay, you're going to see that there's a check surface button right here. This button right here is used to select the surfaces that you want to check against. Okay, so Richard, can everybody hear me? Just raise your hand. Let me check the audio real quick. Yeah, the audio looks like it's working. Yep. Richard, I'm not sure why you're not able to hear anything. There's a conference line in your note in the webinar section there. Just go ahead and dial into that. If you're not able to hear it, I'm not sure what to do for you. Sorry about that, guy. Maybe the next one. Okay, so we're at check surface, okay? So if you click on where it says check surface, this gives you the ability, you're in selection mode, and this allows you to select what surfaces you want to check against, okay? So you just pick your surfaces. In this case, I have this, this tapered slot boss in the center of my surface, okay? All right, so that's how you select them. You just go to check surface, okay, and then you pick on what it is that you want to select, okay? All right, so we'll check that down. The other thing that you're looking at here is there's an allowance, okay? The allowance is how close the tool is going to get towards to that surface before it starts doing something, okay? So you use that allowance value. You can make it bigger or smaller, and that's how, it's kind of like stock for finish. You could look at it. It's an allowance. If the tool comes within this proximity, something's going to happen, and you can control what happens. And it may not just be the tool. You can check against the tool, or you can check against the tool end holder. That's this section here. So you can do the tool and the tool end holder, okay? You have different clearances that you can set for your tool, okay? So if you have your tool, you can set your shaft, your arbor, your holder. You can make it conical as well, all right? So when you're trying to use smaller tools and getting down into deeper areas, this is one of the ways that you can handle that, all right? So in this case, we're going to check just against our tool. And then the other thing that you have here is you have a strategy. You have two options. You can either retract your tool or you can trim and relink your tool, okay? When you trim and relink your tool, you have a couple of different options as far as what happens when you're trimming and relinking, okay? Trim, collision only, etc. And we're going to review that. So this section right here, this is the area for gouge checking, okay? You turn it on here, you select your surfaces there, you set your allowance here, you check against the tool or the tool and holder, and then what do you want to have happen when that happens, okay? So, all right, so let's go ahead and finish this off. So in this example, we have it set to trim, and you can see that we've trimmed away the tool path that ran into this boss here, okay? So let's go ahead and blank that out. All right, so that tool path's away. Let's go ahead and just select our whole body here. All right, so that's the part we want to drive toolpath along, and let's go ahead and compute our toolpath. Let me turn this off for a second. Okay, so here we have some toolpath. So the toolpath is being driven along our model, and what we want to do is we want to check the toolpath away. All right, so the way that we check that toolpath away is we go to Gouge Check, and then we can turn on our check surface, and then we can select those surfaces that we want to check away, all right? So we can select the different surfaces, and we're going to say all this stuff here, and then the one, let's say, on top, all right? So those are the surfaces that we want to check away, and then we say check it down. That's what we want to work with. This is, the allowance is how close we want it to get to it, so we can make it a smaller number, okay? We're going to check just the tool, and then we can do trim and relink and trim collision only and recompute. And what that does right there, you can see how it trims the tool path out that makes contact with those surfaces. Okay, so that's the concept, or one of the concepts that you use. David, Brian, Donnie, if you have any feedback on that or anything you'd like to add, feel free to write something in there, and I'll be sure to bring up that topic. All right, as far as the purpose of gouge checking with check surfaces. Now, the other thing that I want to look at here is when we go to our allowance, again, this is like, you know, a proximity. So we can make this number bigger. If we make this number bigger and we recompute, you can see it stays further away from that wall, okay? So we can come in here, we can make this bigger, and it stays further away from that wall, okay? If we come in here and we make it smaller, then it's going to come in closer to that wall, okay? So we know gouge check is located in the the tree for the Mill Pro. These are, you don't find gouge checking in standard. You will find it in Mill Pro, and you will find it in Premium, and you will find it in multi-axis, okay? So we're in a Mill Pro toolpath. You're going to see the gouge check section. To turn it on, you have to turn the checkbox. You just click the checkbox to turn it on, okay? You need to select surfaces by clicking Check Surface. You need to set an allowance, how far you want it to stay away from that surface. You need to choose whether you're checking with your tool or your tool end holder, and then you have to define the strategy that you're going to use. Do you want to trim it away, or do you want to trim at collision only, or some of the other options that we have in here, okay? So that's what we're looking at with CheckSurfaces, okay? Center a tool driven. Yes, this is center a tool driven. That is correct. 90 degree to a plane. Let's get to that one in just a second, Brian. Okay. Let me pull up another some more housekeeping, guys. So let's see here. What brand CNC machine are you guys running? Are you guys running Hercos, Haas, Mazak? Now, if you don't see your brand machine listed there, like if you typed in other, in the question area, write in the brand machine that you're using, okay? So if you're not using a Haas, a Herco, a ProtoTrack, or a Mazak machine, maybe you're running a Toyota. You know, maybe you're running an Acer. You know, I'm sure David Lowe would love to say hello to you. You know, maybe you're running, you know, a DMG. I don't know. Maybe you're running a Tormach. You know, it doesn't matter. Just if you said other, whatever machine that you are running, go ahead and just let me know. And keep the polls open just a minute longer. Appreciate everybody voting in here. We do get a lot of Haas customers. Glad to see that. A lot of Herco customers and ProtoTrack. I mean, these are some of our really mainstream customers. A lot of Mazak guys too. Mazak machines are great. I really love their orange color. That's what I like about them. And you know, things like that. Okay, very good. All right, thank you so much for everybody voting. It does look like for this particular group, Haas is the most popular machine, but there are a lot of other machines that are in there. So thank you so much. Let's go ahead and close that down. And let's look at our next file here, okay? So again, we're talking about CheckSurfaces, gouge checking with CheckSurfaces. And I know it's kind of confusing because it's like, you know, gouge checking, does that mean the toolpath normally gouges? This is more of a surface-based strategy where you're driving toolpath along a surface and then you want to check against other surfaces. So the fact that I'm selecting the entire body may be a little confusing, but again, this is very, very powerful feature. And we're going to just review this again, okay? So here's another sample. If we look at what I'm checking against, it's these top surfaces here. You notice that there's no taper on these walls, so I could just select the top surface here and I can check against that, okay? So that, you know, this edge of the surface here is part of that check, okay? So let's go ahead. I'm going to look at adjusting allowances again. We're going to come in here, gouge check. Here's our allowance. We're going to make this number bigger. We're going to recompute, and you're going to see the toolpath is moving away from our check surface. So using allowances, you can leave more stock in that area away from those surfaces that you've selected, okay? All right, now you can come in here and make this number smaller. And this, again, is just, it's another 3D type boundary, so you can control where the tool does and doesn't cut. That's really the purpose of this toolpath, is where does it cut and where doesn't it cut, you know, and eliminating the need to use boundaries, okay? We're not selecting a boundary like a wireframe boundary. We're selecting the part model itself, or surfaces or features of that part model, which is a great feature. Okay, so we got allowances. Now, the other thing, when we talk about the strategies, you know, there's a couple of options in here. So I'm on trim and relink right now. I want to look at after first collision, and then I'm going to recompute that. And what you're going to see is that it's trimming it away after the first collision. So this whole section in here is no longer being addressed, okay? this is one of the different options. Now, if we wanted to go to the other side, sorry, let me get down here. I can do trim before last collision and recompute, and then now it's going to switch the other way. Okay, so there's different options in here based on what you've selected as your checking surfaces or your check surface. Okay, where you want that tool path to be trimmed away. Do you want it to, go up and over it? Do you want it to, leave out certain areas, and then you can come back and address it separately? Okay, so these again are very powerful tools. When you first get working with this, I do recommend you kind of just work through some of these examples, just like I have here. Work through some examples and get more familiar with the software. So we did allowances is how much stock you're going to leave, how close the tool can get to that surface. Trim after first affects, where the tool path is trimmed away. Trim before last affects where the tool path is trimmed away. So these are just different ways that you can control it. All right. All right. So let's see here. We're going to come into another poll real quick. I want to learn a little more about what kind of work you guys are doing. Is it 2D and 3D milling? Is it Is it 2D and 3D milling? Is it 3 and 4 axis milling? Like you have a mill with a rotary table? Is it 4 and 5 axis milling? Do you have rotary tilt, a trunnion, 2 axis turning? Or are you doing, do you have a 2 axis lathe, or do you have a mill turn? Okay, so just to give me a good idea of the kind of work you guys are doing, whether you have a rotary, whether you're doing a lot of flat work, or you're doing a lot of 3D work, whether you have a mill turn machine, which technically is like 2D milling and 2-axis turning. So, yeah. So we're going to leave this open just for a moment longer. Looks like the majority of you guys are doing both 2D and 3D machining, but we definitely have some 4 and 5-axis and mill turn guys in there. So I appreciate everybody voting, and we're going to go ahead and close that down. Okay, so the next one we're looking at here is, besides trim away, you also have the ability to bump your toolpath up or retract your toolpath. So here's another example. We're going to come into our CAM tree here. We are going to edit our feature. We're going to go to Gouge Check. Okay. Right now, this one is set to trim the toolpath away. So if we look at it, this is the surfaces selected that we're driving along. Okay. These are the surfaces that we've selected to check against, and right now the toolpath is set to trim and relink. So you can see the tool stays away from that wall. When we drop it down, you can see how it stays away from this wall here, okay? And as it goes to the other side, you can see it stays away from that wall as well, all right? So one of the ways you can do it is by trimming it away. Another way you can use this is to bump your toolpath up, okay? So we're going to go to Gouge Check. We're going to go to Retract Tool, and we're going to hit Compute. And then the difference here is you can see now the toolpath is riding up and along those check surfaces versus trimming it away, okay? So there's a lot of different ways. I don't know if this is the best example to show this, but there are a lot of different ways in which this could be beneficial for you to drive your tool in an area, and instead of trimming away, just leaving additional stock or, driving the tool up, okay? So this is using tool retract in this particular example. All right, now let's go into the next one here, which is, let's see, what do we got? So we got retract tool, so that bumps up. The next one that we want to look at here is, let's see, so we're on this one, so let's go to this one. This is just another example of trimming your toolpath away. Okay, so we have the surface that we're driving the toolpath along. Right now we have this as our check surface here. Okay, so we're going to turn our Gouge Check on. It's set to trim and relink. We recompute, and then from here you can see the toolpath is staying away from that wall now. Okay, so we selected this surface. Where would this come in really helpful is when you have like tapered floors and things like that, and you want to just finish that up, where you can't do like a pocket or a profile or flatlands to get it. This toolpath comes in really handy, allowing you to drive that tool up as close as you want to get it towards that wall, but the surface that you selected, the drive surface that you selected, was this floor here, so you can see it trimmed away from that side. Now, the other thing that you have to keep in mind here is that, when you're using your check surfaces, so we'll come back in here, Gouge Check, check surface. Right now we're selecting this one. Let's select this one as well, and we'll check it down and recompute. You're going to see that that's going to affect this edge as well, because if the tool is coming close to that surface, then it's going to get checked away. All right, so you can see how it moved away from the edge of that surface, just like it moved away from this surface as well. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to show you here, is you can drive toolpath along a surface, and then you can check it away from walls. And even if it's on an angle, if that tool comes within that tolerance or that allowance, then it's going to move or trim that toolpath away. Okay. All right, so, the toolpath is driven. This is where, instead of selecting the whole model, we selected a single surface. Maybe it's on a taper angle, down within the part somewhere. We isolated a surface we want to machine, and then what we're doing is we're using our check surfaces to trim that toolpath away. And even though this surface edge is here, when using that as a check surface, you're going to see the tool back up off of that as well. All right. Let's go to the next one here. Let's see. This is another example. Same concept here. What we have in this example is we have a Z-level finish. Using the Z-level finish, Mark Jones, I can see you typing that in the question box. I don't see anything else from you. So if you have something else you're commenting, it's just that first one there that I see. Okay. All right, so we're on a Z-level finish here. Same concept, okay? So we're using check surfaces instead of using planar. So far I've been showing planar. This is an example of Z-level finish. These are the surfaces that I've selected here. This is the toolpath that's generated. Again, we're going to go to Gouge Check. We're going to turn this on. These are the surfaces that I want to check the toolpath against. I want to trim them, and I recompute, and then it gets rid of the toolpath that's in that area. So, one of the things that you look at with Z-level finish has an option for machine vertical walls only, okay? So that gives you the ability to machine just the vertical walls, okay? With the check surfaces, now you can drive the toolpath to just machine the tapered walls by checking away the surfaces that make up the vertical walls. Okay, so that's another way that you can look at it. So the gouge checking and the check surfaces is available for your 3D toolpaths. There's advanced rough, Z-level finish, planar, all of those different strategies. So far I've shown you just planar, but I wanted to take a moment to show you that you have this with Z-level finish as well. All right. Let's see, we're going to go to another example here. We're going to go to this one. Okay. So here's another example. I have a Z-level finish here coming around, and you can see all the toolpath that's being generated. And then I also have a planar toolpath here and what's happening with that. So in the Z-level finish example, you can see the tool is coming up and going over this surface here. And if I wanted to trim that toolpath away, how can I do that? Well, in this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Gouge Check. I'm going to turn this gouge checking on, and then I'm going to select the surfaces that I want to avoid, which are the tops of these surfaces here. Okay, I check it down. I recompute that toolpath. And now you're going to see that Z-level finish is now avoiding these surfaces on the top there. So again, it's just another example of how to use check surfaces to contain or to avoid areas that you don't want to machine. Okay? The next thing that I want to look at here is this planar toolpath that's moving back and forth, okay? So this planar toolpath is being driven along this surface here, but you'll notice as it drives along that surface there, it's actually running right into the part, right? So what we want to do is we want to check that toolpath away. So what we're going to do is come in here, go to Gouge Check, check surface, we give an allowance, how close can it get to that wall. We select that wall, and we also select the outer wall because we're running into the same problem there as well. We check it down, we recompute the toolpath, and then now you're going to see that it's going to be bumped up away from that wall by that tolerance that we set. Okay, so this is just another example of how you can use check surfaces to contain your toolpath or to cut within an area. Okay, all right, let's go to, let's see, I think I have one more example here. What kind of training works best for you? This is a great one to look at. Video training. Do you like online training, screen shares, kind of like what we're doing here today? Do you like training seminars? We have 3-day seminars that we run all throughout the country. We also do in-house and on-site training. You know, what kind of training works best for you? What do you like most? Do you like books and tutorials, you know, hard copy books that you go through and you read? You know, it's always surprising to me. I watch a lot of videos, you know, on all kinds of things, and that's where I learn a lot. I do read a lot in the forums and things like that too, and other resources, books. I'm really into podcasts right now. I don't know about you guys, but there's these things called podcasts. Pretty amazing what you can learn in such a short period of time from industry experts. Awesome. But it does look like the majority of people here, thank you everybody for voting, the majority do like video training, and I definitely would agree with that. So thank you so much for everybody voting there. All right, so here is our next one. This is just a sample here, another sample of how to use check surfaces. Now, new to the BobCAM V6 is our premium package. What premium allows you to do is to get the surface-based strategies without needing, without the 4-axis version of it. So you can get the 3-axis surface-based strategies, and that opens up 7 additional cutting strategies for you. So you got parallel cuts, you got all these surface-based strategies. Now, the check surfaces you have in the Mill Pro is a little bit different than the check surface options that you have in the premium. Okay, so we open up a few more options for you as far as what happens, as far as what you can control, and then in addition to that, it also opens up some of the different linking options that you can use as well. So when you go to BobCAM Premium, you're really expanding upon your 3-axis surface-based toolpaths and also your gouge check and linking control. Okay, so this is an example here. It's like a prototype part. It's this channel that we need to cut out. You know, so I'm using some supporting blocks to be able to hold it so you can kind of see what's going on here. The parallel cuts is the one that I'm using. Parallel cuts allows you to select the drive surface, and then you have an edge curve, and the toolpath that is generated parallel to that edge curve driving along those surfaces. Now, I know some of these terms, they're difficult to understand sometimes, or how to apply them. So it definitely takes a minute to go through some of these. But in this example, just so we're on the same page, we're illustrating the gouge checking. The gouge checking that we're using are these tabs here. We're checking against those tabs, and we're getting the toolpath to avoid those tabs by checking them away. So this is another example of how you can use gouge checking in your 3-axis environment. And then, you know, just to kind of help understand some of the advantages of the premium package, which is new to the BobCAM V6, you get your morphing toolpath. So I have this transition here that's on a compound curve, and I want to machine it. If I had run this on planar or something, you know, maybe I could get this angle, but it really wouldn't get all the way around it. This is just an example of how you can use these surface-based strategies to machine more difficult toolpath, and the Premium gives 3-axis users a way to get access to that without having the same expense as a 4-axis user. Okay, so lots of great information there. So that's what we're talking about. Gouge checking does and does not cut. You use gouge checking to check against surfaces, to bump your toolpath up, to trim your toolpath away. Hopefully everybody has a good understanding of that, and we can move on to our last topic of the day. Let me see if there's another poll we can run here real quick. Let's go ahead and launch that. Do you know about BobCAM BobArt for BobCAM? Yes, no. Anybody know about this? You know, it's a new feature we've added to the BobArt. It's a new feature we've added to BobCAM in the recent version. So just kind of seeing who's aware of this product. Do you know that this is out or not? All right. All right, it looks like a lot of you do know that this is out. Some of you don't. BobArt is an add-in. BobArt is an add-in for artistic type work, the same as the standalone, but integrated in the BobCAM package for SolidWorks. Let's go ahead and close that down. It looks like most of you know about it, but some of you didn't. So again, I appreciate everybody taking a moment to vote there. Okay, the next topic we're talking about, and we're right at the 2 o'clock mark, so I apologize for holding anybody over here. We're going to get through this last section pretty quick. This is the geometry updates. Geometry updates is where you make changes to your design and then you're able to update your toolpath. Okay, so here's our first example. What we're going to do here is we're going to come into our sketch. We're going to edit our sketch. We're going to make some changes here. We'll make this maybe a little bit bigger this way. Check it down. We're going to make some changes to this one. I'm going to make this maybe a little bit smaller. So we've changed our model, okay? We're going to check it down, escape. So our features in our part is different. We're going to go to the CAM tree. What's going to happen is you're going to get a warning box. This box is going to come up if your model has changed. It's asking you, do you want to update the CAM tree? Okay, the answer is yes. We made a change. We want to update it. What's happened is the association between your geometry and the part model has been updated. So in order to update your toolpath, all you need to do is recompute. Okay, so for your 2D machining features, you can update your toolpaths just like you can update your 3D toolpaths. Okay, so that's example number 1. Let's look at another example here. Okay, so here's another example. So what we're going to do with this one is we're going to come in here, we're going to make some changes. Okay, so let's see here. We're going to edit this this shape here. Make that a little bit bigger. Exit that sketch. Okay, we're going to go to our spiral pocket here. We're going to edit this one. We're going to change its location. Excuse me. Bring this one in a little bit. Okay, exit that sketch. Let's see here. We're going to change these hole locations. Just make them closer together. Exit that sketch, and then this pocket. This inside pocket here, let's go ahead and update that as well. Okay, so the idea is design changes happen. Whether you change a whole location, add additional clearance, whatever the case might be, you want to be able to update for them. Okay, so I've made some changes to my geometry here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the CAM tree. Now, as soon as I go to the CAM tree, it's going to warn me. It's going to say, hey, there's some changes. Do you want to update it? In this example, I want to say no, okay? So one way you can do this is you can auto-update all your geometry by clicking yes to that box. If you say no, all your toolpath is not, it's not associated to your geometry. It's associated to the old geometry is really what it is. See how when I click on the feature, the old geometry locations, okay? So one of the options that you have is to update each one at a time. So I can go to this feature here, right-click, update geometries, and then what it's done is it's updated the geometry. And then I can right-click and do compute toolpath, and then it's updated that toolpath. So you can either auto-update everything, or you can say, well, you know, some of those changes, maybe I don't want to change the toolpath yet. And this gives you the ability to go through and update them individually. So you can right-click, update all geometries, and that's for that feature, and then you can right-click and recompute the toolpath, and that will recompute the toolpath for that feature. Okay, same thing with the spiral pocket, right-click, update all geometry, right-click, recompute the toolpath. Now this definitely takes a little more effort, but it's giving you the control to go in and to do it you know, at your choice. Like you're choosing what to update versus it auto-updating, okay? So you can edit multiple features in your design tree. You can say no to the warning box. You can update one feature at a time and recompute one at a time, okay? So that's what we're looking at for that example. We're going to drop the last one in here, which is this one here, and it's more of the same. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to edit this feature. Wait a second, I need to edit the sketch. Let's see. All right, we'll make it a little shallower. We'll come in and edit the sketch. Make it a little bit bigger here. Exit the sketch. Okay, so we've made some changes to our design. We've affected all of these features here and this inside feature here too. We go to the CAM tree. Do you want to update? We want to say yes. Okay, so now we know we updated our toolpath, but what we want to do, we updated the association to the geometry, but what we want to do is we want to compute all the toolpaths. So we go to the job at that point, and we do compute all toolpath. And what this will do is go through and update all the toolpath there, okay? So whether you want to do it a single feature at a time or whether you want to update everything all at one time, using the auto update feature is a real quick and easy way in order to do that. Now, the auto update or geometry update feature as well, you can use when you're changing your machine zeros, okay? So if you change your machine 0, you can auto update and recompute as well, and that will update your geometry too, okay? So those are some of the things that we wanted to talk about here. New to the BobCAM V6. I really appreciate everybody spending some time with me here. It doesn't really look like there was a whole lot of questions that had come in, but I do really appreciate everybody spending some time with me here today. If there are any questions that you have at this point that you would like me to answer, now would definitely be the time to go ahead and write in some questions if you have some. Doesn't look like anybody has any questions, so again, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, Dana, for spending some time with me here. Timothy, thanks again. Michael, I appreciate you showing up. I had hopefully up in Tennessee, I mean, you know, hopefully you're doing well up there. Reginald, again, thank you so much. David, I appreciate you sticking around to the end. If there's any questions that you guys have, anything that you want to see in the software, I definitely recommend that you guys call in today, 877-262-2231, extension 123. You can get a one-on-one demonstration of the BobCAM V6. These are just 3 of the new features that are in the BobCAM V6. There's lots of new features that will definitely benefit shops of all sizes. We'd love to hear from you. Again, 877-262-2231, extension 123. That's for U.S. That's toll-free. If you're out of the U.S., you can always email us or go to bobcad.com and download your demo today. Otherwise, again, I appreciate everybody spending some time with us here today and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much.